It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect, and I'm into this game, yeah, we'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center, here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Folks, what a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight.
Harry on the target. Right hand from the great double champion. Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
80 seconds remaining on number one.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the top now.
A new week starts right here, right now, live on a Monday morning on the early line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination and consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. We are here together for the next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern time to kick off this new week. At the end and the conclusion of the 33rd games of the Olympiad over in Paris. Final day of action, final event of the Summer Games and closing ceremonies yesterday in France. We say farewell to the Olympic Games and look back on all of the action that we need to here on this Monday. It was also the opening weekend of NFL preseason action in full. Week 1 coming to a close on a Sunday with a doubleheader of NFL contests. Another weekend in MLB. All of that, DRS, over these next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern time.
Yep, we're ready to go. A huge weekend, recapping weekend, I should say here. The Olympics were fantastic. Team USA certainly showed out in every sport here, winning the medal count. We'll talk about that, but also we did get some snapshots of some pretty good rookies out there on the field in the NFL, and also a baseball weekend some teams loved, some teams would certainly like to forget.
Yeah, sorry about that, DRS. 3 straight losses for the Phils after the opening win in the NLCS rematch over Arizona. But everything you need to know in the home stretch of this MLB campaign and how it pertains to the postseason picture around the bigs. But, of course, we start with the final day of action, the final event at the Olympiad, a gold medal game in women's basketball. The United States in its hunt for an 8th consecutive gold medal and its 61st win in a row in Olympic action. A 16-point pregame favorite against the host nation in France. And DRS, it was probably the game the Americans were most tested since 1992 in Barcelona. The Americans, though, do prevail. 67-66 to win their 8th consecutive gold medal in women's basketball in the Olympics. The most dominant team we have ever seen, the most gold medals in a row in a team sport in Olympic history. Gabby Williams of France, who recently played in the WNBA last season with the Seattle Storm, had a shot at the buzzer with her foot on the three-point line and inside the arc that banked in. So the Americans survive with that 1-point victory, 67-66, a United States golden weekend in basketball over the host nation.
Winning pretty, winning ugly, it doesn't matter as long as you win the basketball game. That's what Team USA did, and they got to fight all the way through from France. That home court advantage really meant a lot in the men's game and the women's game because they certainly showed out. But Team USA rose above that. If you're not going to bring your A game, you better play some great defense, and they certainly did that down the stretch. Congratulations. Another gold medal for the women's team. That's pretty good.
8 consecutive gold medals. Again, the most we have ever seen consecutively for a team in a team sport in the history of the Olympic Games. And Diana Taurasi, now the most decorated female Olympian for the United States, winning 6 consecutive golds in the same event. A historic day in France that we will look back on in just a matter of moments. DRS, the conclusion, though, of the Olympic Games yesterday. And what a run it was in these 2 weeks in Paris. We had a ton of fun covering here over these 3 hours on the early line. And based on time zones, it worked out really well for us. We had some live action. We were able to preview the afternoon of events. And the United States will go home with the most medals in the Olympic Games, 126, tying China with 40 gold medals. And because the Americans had more silvers, the official champs in terms of the overall medal count, the United States, golden again.
Absolutely. That's what we expect. Dominance is what we like to see in the Summer Olympic Games. And Team USA, all the way through every competition, was bringing that heat right up to the very end, closing. Might as well have been the closing ceremonies with Team USA, the women's basketball team, getting their gold medals. It was fun to watch. It was a great 2 weeks. Paris certainly was on display, and they did themselves well also.
So from the betting angle, over 110 and a hook for the overall medal count. The United States was minus 2,000 to lead all nations in medals. 40.5 for the golds. They fall under by the hook, but still an incredibly successful Olympic Games for Team USA. Next up, Los Angeles in 2028, at least from the Summer Olympiad perspective. Week number 1 of the NFL preseason in full. 2 games on Thursday, a triple header on Friday, a 9-game slate on a Saturday, and a doubleheader to conclude the weekend yesterday. Bo Nix did not get the start for Denver, enlisted as the third-string quarterback in the Mile High City. Maybe only temporarily, DRS. He leads 4 scoring drives for the Broncos as they knock off the Colts 34-30, total of 39 and a hook. Skies way over. In Stetson Bennett, playing in his first game in nearly a calendar year for the LA Rams, throws 4 interceptions, but also the game-winning touchdown with under 10 seconds remaining. The Rams get a victory as well, 13-12 in their opener over the Cowboys.
High-scoring game, low-scoring game, and also, as we touched on it last week, you take a look at those depth charts here. Just coaches being buffoons overall. Let the young kids spin. If you're not a great football team, let the young kids get theirs. And you saw that, by the way, in Bo Nix. Looks the part right now, doesn't he? I wonder if he shows up as third on the depth chart again this week.
Do not believe so. 15 of 21 for 125 yards and a touchdown. Plenty more reactions with all the rookie quarterbacks and the names and numbers you need to know from week 1 of the NFL preseason later in the show. Now we go to Major League Baseball. A weekend in the Pacific Northwest dominated by the Seattle Mariners. 12-1 the victory last night on Sunday Night Baseball over the New York Mets. Seattle completes the sweep in Seattle. Sweep in Seattle, not sleepless in Seattle. Cal Raleigh, a couple of long balls, 2 of them exact, and 5 RBIs yesterday to lead Seattle to the big victory over New York.
All we were asking for was those bats to come somewhat alive for the Mariners. Looks like they did over the weekend here. Could this be the team in the AL West that certainly wants to seize control? That's how you get it done. With a team like the New York Mets in playoff contention now, the Mariners really handled their business at home, improving to 63-56 on the season.
The Mets only scored 1 total run in the entirety of the weekend set in the Northwest. It was yesterday. The Mariners had a 22-1 run differential in their favor in this set. The Arizona Diamondbacks stay hot since the All-Star break after losing the opener of the NLCS rematch to the Phils on Thursday. The extended 4-game weekend set. The final 3 games go to Arizona. They take the series over Philadelphia 3-1.
Hey, they're the better baseball team in that series. The Phillies basically sleepwalking now because the Braves and the Mets both also tanked over the weekend also, which leaves them still with a 7.5 game lead. Much deserved day off for them as they come back home. A much easier schedule on the horizon over the next few weeks. We'll see if the Phillies can take advantage of it. But my goodness, they were beaten to a pulp out there by Arizona.
Arizona has won 15 of its last 18 games. The Phils now just 7-15 since the All-Star break, but the Braves not making up any ground. They are 7.5 games back in the National League East. A small advantage because of the Mets' loss in Seattle for the third and final National League wildcard spot. Only a half game separates those two teams. It should have been more for the Braves, but they give up 7 runs to the Rockies in the 8th inning. They had an 8-2 lead entering the 8th. The Rockies score 7 in the bottom half of that frame to come all the way back to win 9-8.
No lead is ever safe at Coors, which we term the frame Coors Magic. It happened in a bad way to the Atlanta Braves. Looked like they're going to walk away with an easy victory, come ahead with a loss. Now you know they're going up against the San Francisco Giants and Mr. Snell. What an ace matchup tonight on the mound out there we'll get to later.
Atlanta loses the weekend set at Coors. They have also lost 7 of its last 8 games. Aaron Rai, a champion in the final regular season event on the PGA Tour at the Wyndham Championship. Matt Kuchar, though, bizarrely stopped his round on the 72nd hole. Will finish it today on a Monday. Donnie, what is good with Matt Kuchar? We have no idea. More on the early line up next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes! Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
The ending weekend of the Olympic Games over in Paris this summer in 2024. In the final event of the final day of action prior to the closing ceremonies, a gold medal game between the host nation in France and the United States in women's basketball. The Americans looking for their 8th consecutive gold medal to become the most dominant team we have ever seen in Olympic history in a team sport. It was not easy. The United States probably facing their best test they have in over a decade, but they do prevail for a 1-point victory in Paris over France. 67-66. The French do cover as a 16-point underdog. A pregame total in the low 150s stays well under. But the story at the end, the Americans, 8 consecutive gold medals. We will recap why and how it happened yesterday over in Paris.
Yeah, a brutal basketball game overall, just from an aesthetic standpoint, but that doesn't matter. Like, nobody's going to remember that in 20 years. Say, hey, you know what, who won that Olympic gold medal? It was Team USA, 67-66. You take a look at that, 34% shooting from the floor for Team USA, 16% from three-point range. You take a look early on, Asia Wilson, I mean, just couldn't find the rim, layup, short jump shots, nothing was working, but sort of really influenced that third and fourth quarter, finishing with 21 and 13, certainly the MVP of Team USA. But the interesting part goes down is, like, we now enter into the stage where three-point shooting is so important. We'll talk about the men's game in just a little bit, but you see them 2 for 12 from three. You know what opened up the court? I don't know, a guard that can bomb away from, logo range and make those shots. So you have to actually play the three-point line. Can't remember that girl's name, but she might have been okay. But we didn't expect Caitlin Clark to play in this Olympics. She didn't make the team, and we still thought Team USA was going to win, and they did that. That was the name of the game. That was the goal. But now as we flip the page over to 2028, it's going to be a lot of young superstars, a lot of great guards still that are going to be available for Team USA when it gets to Los Angeles.
There were a lot of great guards on this team. I actually don't blame the selection of the roster. I blame the person making the calls on the bench. I have no idea what Cheryl Reeve was doing for most of yesterday. Sabrina Ionescu comes right in, makes an immediate impact, able to space out the floor in a game that France was key on the defensive end. 2028 will come. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, the young rooks will all get their time to represent Team USA. Let's focus on what we have seen yesterday in 8 consecutive gold medals for Team USA. But it was oh so close. I mean, inches away. Gabby Williams, 5-year WNBA vet, who most recently played with Seattle a season ago in 2023, drove down the length of the floor at the end of the game, hoisted one up from around the three-point arc with the United States up 67-64, shot banked in. A shout-out to Noah Eagle, live on the broadcast almost immediately, saying that it was a 2-point shot, and it was clear that Gabby Williams' foot was on the line, probably half of her sneaker inside the arc. So the Americans barely survive by 1 point, 67-66. 61 consecutive victories for the United States, dating back to the 1992 games in Barcelona, in 8 consecutive gold medals. We'll get to Captain America for women's hoops in just a second. That would be the tournament MVP in Asia Wilson. But a quick shout out to Kalia Copper. 12 points, 10 of them in the fourth and final quarter. The product of Rutgers stepping up on the biggest stage in the most significant time, leading the Americans in that fourth quarter, DRS, with 10 big points.
Yeah, there's a lot of strong layups late there, too, starting to clinch that out. And also, Team USA's free throw shooting down the stretch was also very good. You take a look at Copper and Plum, both off the bench, 6 of 6 apiece from the free throw line. That's what you needed at the end of that basketball game. It is interesting to watch the international game from, let's just say, the WNBA game or the NBA game, because it's so much more physical at that point. So even if you can muck and grind like France was trying to do, in the end, Team USA was still the stronger team and ended up prevailing. So it could have been so much easier. We were saying, like, which team can actually stay within double digits of the Team USA, and it was France, who almost pulled the miraculous upset at that point. But no shame in the US's game. You're going to run in games where you face adversity. They faced it the entire second half, which included, I believe, watching out of the gate, like an 8-0 run by France to take that lead. Like, oh my goodness, they're going to lose this game. But they settled in, played some really good defense, and ended up picking up the victory, which is the main part there.
The United States was down double digits early in the second half, early in the third quarter. I bet the Americans live on FanDuel with a nice 30% profit boost, brought the money line down to minus 118. Bang. Got the cash that we needed. Only 3 players in double figures yesterday for the U.S. Kalia Copper, who we shared, had 10 in the fourth quarter. Kelsey Plum had 12. But there's nobody better in women's basketball right now than Asia Wilson. 21 points, 13 boards, 4 blocks. Captain America prevails for the United States. Sensational throughout the entirety of the tournament, averaging nearly 19 points and 11 boards per game. The MVP and the main reason the United States was able to win an 8th consecutive gold.
Yeah, 6 points at the break, 15 in the second half, which included a boatload of rebounds, and certainly the physicality to get to the free throw line and make 9 of 12 free throws here. She certainly was the catalyst down the stretch, because even though not much was working, and sometimes other players like, hey, you know what, just not my night here, she kept pressing on here and had a big-time second half, which, again, was the catalyst for that victory. 6-0 in the Olympics. That's another gold medal as they go, and congratulations, Team USA. Much like we expected, heavy favorites getting it done. That's something we won't talk about a lot. Like, oh, they're supposed to get it done, which means all that pressure is always on your back. And also being in Paris, in France, and playing France in the gold medal game and getting their best shot and still coming away with the victory, that's always good to watch.
Yeah. Listen, that host nation bump was the real deal. We'll talk about the men's gold medal match on Saturday afternoon in just a moment. But quickly here, a shout out to the most decorated U.S. female Olympian in basketball ever, Diana Taurasi, 6 gold medals. The 42-year-old vet, her selection on the team, a little bit controversial, but it was to have that stellar moment, another golden moment, to win 6 gold medals in the same sport, I believe most all time, for an individual in the same sport at the Olympic Games. So Diana Taurasi gets her 6th straight gold medal. The Americans have won 8 in a row, a 61-game Olympic winning streak that will follow the United States to Los Angeles in the 2028 Summer Games. So U.S. versus France in women's basketball, the U.S. versus France in men's basketball. Another instant classic on Saturday. We recap next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
Live right here on the early line on this Monday, looking back on the final weekend of the Olympic Games over in Paris. And DRS, what a scene it was on Saturday for the gold medal match between the United States and France in men's basketball. One of the games that we will remember for a very long time, including the semifinal dramatic comeback victory over Serbia. The United States prevails 98-87. France, as they did in the women's gold medal game, covering as close to a 16-point underdog. But it will be a game remembered for what Stephen Curry can do behind the three-point line. 8 triples and somehow, some way, making shots that should not have gone down over Victor Wembanyama and every single French defender. 24 points for Steph. The chef in his only Olympic Games goes home a gold medalist.
Yeah, it was a really good game and a fun game to watch. And also coming off the heels of knocking off Serbia, coming back, you get the, roundhouse punch from France. They still are standing there at the end of the game, only for Steph Curry to put on a mini Olympic show all by himself when you knew every time he was trying to work open here, running off of those picks and those screens where you're allowed to clutch and grab and knock him off. And it's not like he's 6'7", 6'8", like LeBron James here, 250 pounds. He's a smaller guy, but still able to get open and knock down three-point shot after three-point shot after three-point shot. Monster shots. This is what we love, too, because coming into the games, did we expect the U.S. to win the gold medal? Absolutely. But also, sometimes you're just asking for the best players in the world to have a little bit of adversity. They had that in the past 2 games, and they showed up absolutely golden in that 98-87 game. So much fun. I don't think there's anybody on the planet that wasn't watching that game down the stretch knowing that you were watching greatness here and expecting Steph Curry to put the nail in the coffin for France, and he did. Put them to sleep, baby. I loved watching it. Loved this 8. You know what, Ben? It was really nice because everybody at that time frame in the middle of the afternoon on a Saturday was able to watch, and those record numbers were a bonanza, and rightfully so. So much fun to watch. The best in the world at the highest level. You got that out of the men's team.
19.5 million viewers to be exact, making it the most watched gold medal game for the United States in men's basketball since 1996. And this game was close. Yes, the Americans won by double digits. Sure, the French covered as a 16.5 point underdog. A total of 174.5 pregame does go over as the U.S. scores 98. But it was a one-possession game. Under 2.5 minutes remaining. Victor Wembanyama on the other side, 26 points for France. And then Steph took over. 3 threes in the final 2 minutes. The dramatics for the Americans, prevailing for a 5th consecutive gold. But throughout the Olympic Games, in each and every way, despite getting dunked on by Guerschon Yabusele, who had himself quite an Olympiad for France, scored 20 in the gold medal final against the United States. LeBron James lay Captain America, the MVP of this team, the MVP of the Olympic tournament in men's basketball. 14 points, 10 dimes, 6 boards in the final. Had a triple-double against Serbia, filled it up in each and every way. You can see the numbers there. More than 14 points per game, 8.5 assists, 6 close to 7 rebounds in the Olympic tournament. LeBron James doing what he had to do to carry the Americans to another gold medal. Make that 5 in a row for the United States in men's basketball.
He's 39 years old and is probably still, like, pound for pound, the top 3 player in the world. It doesn't even make sense at this point. When you put him on display in the Olympics, and also, isn't he perfect for that? Like, granted, he gets a lot of foul calls in the NBA. That's just the way it is. But you're not going to foul him and get away with it. He's just going to power through everything. And for him to be the catalyst of this team all the way through by making sure that he was making those phone calls early on, who's going to be with me in this France Olympics, getting that superstar team around him, and performing like the ultimate superstar in that game. It was so much fun to watch all the way through. LeBron James. And again, you have to remind, he's not 29. He's 39 years old and looks like he just cracked into the NBA as an 18-year-old. He was phenomenal, super athletic, absolutely talented, and led Team USA to that gold medal.
Another gold medal for LeBron James. Make that 4 gold medals for Kevin Durant, the most decorated men's basketball player for the United States, the most that anybody has ever recorded. 15 points for the easy money sniper and a couple of clutch free throws down the stretch as well. We mentioned his name multiple times here in this breakdown, but Steph Curry, what a end to the Olympic Games it was. Quiet, really, throughout group play, into the quarterfinal against Brazil, but 36 points against Serbia, second most scored by an American male in Olympic action, and 24 points in the gold medal game. Some final thoughts over in Paris. Up next on the Early Line.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York team has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
For one final time, we recap the Olympic Games over in Paris, live on this Monday morning on the early line on SportsGrid. We'll have some winners from the 2 weeks that was over in France a little bit later on in the show. But after a gold medal in both men's and women's basketball, a triumph over the host nation in France, make that 5 straight for the United States in men's hoops, 8 in a row for Team USA in women's basketball. The U.S. ends with 40 gold medals in total, matching China for the most golds at the Olympic Games. We fall under our number by a hook, 40 and a half. 34 and a half was the gold medal over-under for the Chinese entering the Olympic Games. The U.S. was a minus 550 favorite. China had some plus money. Not sure what the dead heat rules are on the FanDuel Sportsbook, but the United States did run away in the overall medal count. 126, 35 more than China in total. The United States was minus 2,000 to have the most medals in all of the Olympic Games in Paris.
Rightfully so. We're supposed to dominate the summer games, and we certainly did that here. But you know what's interesting? You see China and the United States both with 40 gold medals. How about the fact that Team USA had 44 silver medals, which means how much closer they were to many more gold medals at that point here. So maximizing the effort, putting guys in that winning circle. Team USA certainly did that, and it was enjoyable all the way through. We were rooting as it came down the stretch because you felt like Team USA still had 2 more pocket gold medals, you know, from basketball for men's and women's, that maybe China wouldn't be able to stay ahead and catch them, but a valiant effort by the Chinese. They're getting 40 gold medals. That's pretty impressive as well. The 40-40 club right here should go out there for one more event to break that tie, BWS. Come on.
Yeah. Well, of course, our tennis guy and producer, Joe Frizo, Emma Navarro, had a chance for the United States in tennis, blew a match point against Qinwen Zhang, who, of course, won a gold for China in women's tennis. It all comes back to that, apparently, according to Joe Frizo. Rafael Nadal could have taken one from somebody, maybe in a gold medal. Who knows? He didn't do that. That's for sure. More around the Olympic Games a little bit later on in this show, but let's go through the weekend that was in Major League Baseball. NLCS rematch, 2 teams trying to trend in the right direction down the home stretch of this MLB regular season, and the Arizona Diamondbacks just keep winning games, making 15 of their last 18 in the win column for Arizona, including the final 3 games of this 4-game weekend set against the Phillies. 12-5 in the finale. Arizona wins outright as an underdog. Jake McCarthy, 4 RBIs to pace that D-backs offense yesterday. Again, a 12-5 victory, well over a total of 9.5.
Yeah, by the way, you take a look at Merrill Kelly, coming back to the Diamondbacks here, 3-0 now in the season with an ERA of 2.43. That's going to be a help down the stretch here, but also the Phillies have been notorious for this as of late, too. First inning here, Alec Boehm, double in the gap, 2 runners score, still 1 out, aren't able to push through any more runs, but you figured that's a great start, that's what you wanted to do. And then just getting pummeled through the mid-innings in a bullpen that was so spectacular to start the season, leaking a little bit of oil, but also you are going to hit malaise here sometimes in the dog days of summer. Because you saw when the Philadelphia Phillies were starting to get pushed by the Mets and the Braves. What did they do? Hey, let's win 4 out of 5 games here. Once everybody starts to lose around you look at the clock. It's not so bad. Eventually we'll get back home. We'll play easier teams. But that's not the showing that you want. You won game number 1 Arizona, which means the next 3 games, just win 1 more of those and get a split out in Arizona, which is all you can ask for. Anything more than that would have been a plus. But they just bottom out for 3 straight games was certainly embarrassing for the Philadelphia Phillies. Still 69-49. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to win the NL East, but it's not certainly showing signs of we're that dominating force that we were in the first half. Now, things could change over the next 2 to 3 weeks where they get their rhythm back, or things could stay the same if the Braves and the Mets just continue to stink up the joint as well.
And right now, it's a 7.5-game lead, as DRS is alluding to, in the National League East. 8 games over the New York Mets. But the Dodgers got a sweep this weekend over the Pirates. So 69-49, now the best records around the National League for both Philadelphia and LA, contending for that number 1 overall seed in the NL playoff bracket. The Phils have lost 7 of their last 8 series. In fact, they're only 2 series victories in their last 10, both over the Dodgers, so they do have that tiebreaker advantage at this moment. Arizona, 15 wins in their last 18 games. The Diamondbacks and the Padres both pacing very well atop the National League wild card race. The Padres would have been right there had they not lost their series finale yesterday against the Miami Marlins. 7-6 the victory for Miami, snapping a San Diego 7-game win streak. The Fish avoid the sweep at home against the Padres, but they have still won 16 of their last 19 games. So no sweep for San Diego, but still incredibly good baseball since the All-Star break.
No, it certainly has. And by the way, if you watch that baseball game, the game was 7-6 in the 9th inning, and it looked like he had a game-tying crazy home run that the correct call was made on the field. Or excuse me, the correct call was made after it, went to replay, where the ball bounced off the player, bounced off the wall, bounced off the player, basically went over the fence. A crazy stance, which from the naked eye, it's like, yeah, that's normally a home run, but the rule call says it can't go down that way. The manager even came out and said that's the correct ruling. So a crazy victory for the Marlins, 7-6, when the Padres probably thought they tied that one up. I like what I see, though, honestly, out of San Diego. But an interesting one yesterday. Dylan Cease, one of the better pitchers in Major League Baseball, at least over the past 60 days. 5 innings pitched, 5 earned runs in Miami, which is a true pitcher's ballpark. That was stunning to start that game. But the Padres never gave up and almost came within inches of tying that thing up.
And it did end a 5-start streak for Cease of giving up just 1 total earned run in those 5. Now, his most recent start featured a rain delay against Pittsburgh, so only pitched an inning. But even 4 straight starts of only allowing a single earned run combined comes to a close yesterday against the Marlins. Because Cease was on the bump and San Diego has been playing so well, riding a 7-game win streak into the series finale yesterday, the Padres, a minus 200 moneyline favorite, total of 7.5, does go over. But both San Diego and Arizona at this moment, 66 and 53, tied for the top 2 spots, if you will, in the National League wild card race. 4 games in front of Atlanta. The Braves failing to make up any ground this weekend. They lose their weekend set in Coors against the Rockies, and Colorado takes the rubber match and the series despite trailing 8-2 entering the 8th inning. The Braves were up by 6 runs into the bottom of the 8th. The Rocks score 7 in that home half of the frame to come all the way back and pick up a victory in the rubber match and pick up a series weekend victory as well, 9-8 in the finale.
Yeah, Schwellenbach starts that game 6 innings pitched, 2 earned runs. That should be an easy victory for him. You're even tacking on late only to see the bullpen give it away. Jackson, 2/3 of an innings pitched, 4 earned runs. Jimenez comes in, 1/3 of an innings pitched, 3 earned runs at that point. A disastrous showing for the bullpen for the Atlanta Braves, giving that game away. And we'll see if there is a lingering effect as they now head out to the West Coast and take on the San Francisco Giants. Sale will be on the mound tonight, so it's a great way to sort of bounce back. But boy, oh boy, you expected that to be a victory, get some momentum heading out, and you take that devastating loss. There could be something to watch tonight, no doubt about it. Can't lose those games, but as we like to say, that's Coors Magic right there in full effect.
The Braves have lost 7 of their last 8, a golden opportunity for teams behind them, even in the same division, to really stake a claim into a wild card spot in the National League. The Mets failing to do so this weekend out in the Pacific Northwest. The Mariners on Sunday Night Baseball, a 12-1 win over the amazing Seattle, a home favorite at -126. Total of 7.5 goes over Cal Raleigh. 2 home runs yesterday for the M's, 5 RBIs. Seattle wins this series, sweeps the New York Mets at home. They shut out the Mets in the first 2 games. The Amazons only scoring 1 run yesterday. Seattle had a run differential DRS of +21, 22-1 in this weekend series.
Yeah, fantastic. And by the way, Castillo, 10-11 on the season, but his ERA drops to a 3.40. One of those frontline starting pitchers you expect to dominate. The Seattle Mariners were certainly dominant in their own ballpark. If they can get hitting, they're one of those teams you want to watch out for, particularly in the AL West. Good series for them.
We'll talk all about the standings around MLB up next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
A big weekend around the bigs in Major League Baseball. Each and every result now a direct impact on the postseason race. And in the National League wild card, things are getting tight for the third and final spot. not really at the top. San Diego and Arizona both playing exceptionally well since the All-Star break. Now tied for that top record at 66 and 53, 4 games in front of everybody else, in both minus 800 to earn a playoff spot in the National League. The Braves a half-game advantage over the Mets. Atlanta lost the weekend in Colorado. The Braves have lost 7 of their last 8. The Mets swept in Seattle. And the Cardinals and the Giants. The Giants a series weekend victory. San Francisco playing pretty good baseball in the last 2 weeks. Now 2 games above 500. But those bottom 4 teams, Atlanta, New York, St. Louis, San Francisco, all separated by just a game and a half.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch it play out. And as we stated, the Giants are going to take on the Braves this weekend. You're going to get a lot more impact here as we start to cruise into the middle of August and obviously all throughout those September months. You take a look at some of those teams starting to play well, like the Chicago Cubs climbing back into the picture, winners of 4 straight games, only 3 games back of the wild card. And conversely, on the opposite side, look at those Pittsburgh Pirates now 5 games back, losers of 7 games in a row. They have to stop that streak sooner than later. But we are going to have a very fun last half of August all the way through September with so many teams in the National League still in that wild card hunt.
San Francisco has won 8 of their last 11. The Cubbies 4 straight, still a game below 500, but playing better baseball because of the expanded postseason. That additional wild card spot, it's going to be a race toward the end. Might we see a race for a divisional title in the American League Central? It's the only division right now that even features a lead between the 2 top teams. Cleveland and Minnesota. The Guardians on the road in Minneapolis win 5-3 in the finale as a slight underdog. 4 games set this weekend. Cleveland takes the final 2. Jose Ramirez, a first home run and RBI of the series, now 31 home runs, 97 ribbies this year. That's second most in baseball. So Cleveland rallies to take the final 2 games of this 4-game weekend set against their divisional foe in Minnesota. The Guardians hold a 3.5-game advantage over the Twins.
Boy, they really needed that too because, tweeting out from me, I was like, boy, this team might just go into full free fall mode at this point and not even be in first place in a few days. Monster performances on Saturday and Sunday to pick up those victories to sort of stave off the Twins there in that division. But again, we take a look at a month and a half left to go in the season. That AL Central certainly up for grabs here. The Twins are going to make a run at this thing. We'll see if some other teams can climb into it. But the Guardians, boy, did they need those final 2 games specifically against the Twins themselves to sort of say, hold on now. We're still the best team in this division and sort of take a deep breath with a breather there. Goodness.
3.5 games up over Minnesota, 4 games in front of KC. The Royals and the Twins right now, the 2nd and 3rd spots in the American League wild card race. Minnesota well behind the New York Yankees for that 2nd spot, only a half game in front of KC. KC now a 2.5-game lead over Seattle, 3-game advantage over Boston. But really, when you look around the American League, we are tied at the top in the AL East between Baltimore and New York. We are tied at the top in the American League West as well. Houston wins yesterday in Fenway 10-2 over the Red Sox. They were booked as a pretty hefty road money line favorite, minus 144. The Red Sox swept by the Astros. Houston has won 5 in a row.
Yeah, how about that? 5 in a row for them, 4 in a row for the Seattle Mariners. Both those teams jockeying for position. Slight percentage point there, .530 to .529 as we head down the stretch. We sort of take a look at the Astros and say the pedigree is always there. But I do like the way the Mariners are playing now, but it just seems like the Mariners always tease us. Very good to start the season, go into a lull, playing better baseball now. Do they have enough in the tank? Because honestly, Ben, if you're looking at those 2 rosters, top to bottom, I think the Mariners actually have the better roster. Total pitching involved, bullpen, and also starting pitching, and also a comparable 1 through 9. Now, the superstar power that we know usually comes from the Astros because we usually see those guys playing on the biggest stages and winning World Series. But now you look at the Mariners getting a little bit of help at the trade deadline with some more bats here. Maybe they can turn the page, and maybe they have 6-4 in their last 10. But again, winners of 4 straight games here and impressive over the Mets. Certainly, that's what they needed.
62 and 55 for Houston, 63 and 56 for the M's. So 1 more loss, but also 1 more win for Seattle. At this moment, Houston in that first place spot, but they're really tied when all is considered. The Astros a minus 175 favorite to win the American League West, 70 and 49. The same exact mark atop the American League East between the Yankees and the Orioles. New York, a minus 165 favorite to win the division. Jarren Duran, the All-Star Game MVP for Boston, on a hot mic yesterday on the Nesson broadcast, was caught yelling a homophobic slur to a fan at Fenway. He has since apologized late last night. The Red Sox have lost 4 games in a row. Elsewhere around the major leagues this weekend, the O's take a series victory over Tampa, but the Rays winning the final game of the set in a low-scoring affair, 2-1. Curtis Mead, game-winning RBI sac fly in the 8th inning. The Yankees take a series victory over the Rangers, 8-7, holding on in the finale. A finale that featured a ton of offense out of the pinstripes. Juan Soto, 2 home runs. Aaron Judge, another home run. Giancarlo Stanton, a 3-run homer and 4 RBIs as the Yankees take the weekend set over Texas.
Yeah, the Yanks were pretty impressive at the plate, but you're right. You never want to see that sort of the bullpen giving out, specifically some of those really good pitchers on the back end of that bullpen for the Yankees. But the win is the only thing that matters at this point. Those two teams, we talked about the Orioles and the Yankees going toe-to-toe right down to the wire. You know that's what it's going to be. And also, maybe that's a good thing, because if you do lose, you're going to end up in the wild card spot. You got to go on the road. But you were playing good baseball right up to the end, and certainly already in playoff mode at this point, as opposed to running away with it. Should be fun to watch, but again, still going to stick with the New York Yankees here, and we'll see how this one plays out.
Yeah. So the Rangers, by the way, they've lost 8 of their last 11 games at this moment. Texas, 7.5 games out of the AL West, 10 games, double digits out of an American League wildcard spot. The reigning World Series champs could very well be in danger of missing out on the American League postseason. The Giants playing better baseball. They win the weekend against the Tigers, not able to pick up the sweep yesterday. The Dodgers a sweep, winning 6-5 in 10 innings over Pittsburgh. Teoscar Hernandez, an RBI single in the 10th. The Buccos have lost 7 in a row. More around MLB up next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Another weekend has come and gone in Major League Baseball. So what does it mean in a long regular season with the postseason not all that far away, nearing the middle of August? Soon our attention we'll flip more to football when an NFL regular season and a college football campaign begins, and then we'll check back in at the end of September. What will things look like around MLB? Let's take a look at the World Series odds as of this moment. The Dodgers still remain the favorites at plus 320. They're $1.50 pretty much in front of the Phils, plus 460, despite the fact that Philadelphia has been struggling since the All-Star break. The Yanks, the best margin out of the American League at plus 550, and the O's plus 750. We'll get to the teams outside of that. But, Donnie, really, despite the results on an ebbs and flow, weekly, daily basis around Major League Baseball, the top four have really remained the top four for the last 2-3 months in the bigs.
Yeah, by far the top four teams in Major League Baseball, just the way it is. And also the only reason why the Dodgers probably don't have even more of a lead right now over the Philadelphia Phillies is because they are getting this little bit of a surge from a couple of those teams in the NL West, where the Phillies look like they can just sleepwalk to a victory in the NL East, which means they'll get home field advantage. And maybe if the Dodgers get overtaken, they won't have that here. But it's not going to change down the stretch unless we have just disastrous injury after disastrous injury. I think we understand who the four top teams are in Major League Baseball, 2 from the American League, 2 from the National League, and away we go to see how it plays out and we'll see which team can stay hot at the end of September heading into October baseball.
Yeah, absolutely so. Now let's get to the reshuffling behind the big four, the four teams that have had the four best prices, the Dodgers and the Phils out of the National League, the Yankees and the O's out of the AL. Houston technically atop the American League West at this moment. The Astros have won 5 consecutive games, now the 5th shortest price to win a World Series at 13-1. Some reshuffling in the odds here. The Twins 14-1, Minnesota $5 in front of their divisional mate. That would be the Cleveland Guardians. Cleveland at 19-1, despite the fact that Cleveland has a 3.5 game lead in the American League Central over Minnesota. The biggest move, Donnie, the Braves. 18-1. Atlanta was always kind of hovering after the injuries to Spencer Strider and Ronald Acuna Jr., and the Phillies supplanted them in the National League East with that 5th best price, 3rd best number in the National League. The odds makers having more belief in the Braves than either you or I. But Atlanta now has lost 7 of its last 8 games, the longest World Series price we have seen. It has moved back even from the graphic we showed you, and those odds were updated this morning. Atlanta now at 18-1, 7th best number to win a World Series championship.
Sometimes, Ben, you just don't have it. The Atlanta Braves just don't have it this year. You know, whether it was the injuries right out of the gate, the Strider and Acuna, I mean, you're not going to really rehab from that and come back. You got some great pitching performances out of some unheralded guys stepping up to the plate like Chris Sale, who many thought might be done with nothing left in the tank. He might even win the Cy Young, and it's still not helping at this point. Ronaldo Lopez, who was so good for you for so long, now in the IL with a little bit of forearm tightness. It's just sometimes it's not your year, and it looks like the Atlanta Braves, quality organization, it's just not their year. And if you could just take a microcosm of one game throughout the season and say, how is it going for the Braves, Ben? It was yesterday, blowing that massive lead in the 8th inning here, where you can gain another game on the Phillies or just play some decent baseball before you head out to the San Francisco Giants. They lost that game yesterday. It's just what's happened for the Braves. Sometimes it's just not your time.
Losing a weekend set against the worst team in the National League, that is the Colorado Rockies. But both the Rocks and the Marlins, the 2 bottom teams in the NL standings, picking up a win yesterday against playoff contenders. Arizona and San Diego round out the top 10 in terms of the World Series prices. The Diamondbacks, of course, the reigning National League pennant winners, have won 15 of their last 18, 21-1. The price on Arizona, 23-1 the number on San Diego. The Pods have won 16 of their last 19. Donnie, as you forecast maybe the October outlook for either the D-backs or the Padres, who do you think is a better bet at this moment to actually contend for a World Series?
To be honest, I mean, you're probably it's such a tough question because, again, they're tied. It's perfect to answer. But I just think overall, talent-wise, to be honest, it just might be the Padres at this point right now, because also you take a look at what they did at the deadline. How do you win late September games in October? A fortified bullpen. That's what they did. Slight edge right now for me for the San Diego Padres over the Diamondbacks, but 2 hot baseball teams with a lot of talent. Quite frankly, both will probably be making the playoffs.
We'll take a look at the pennant odds a little bit later on and how things have been reshaped. But the Padres and the D-backs now both really up there with the Braves in terms of those National League pennant prices. The tier of two, the Dodgers and the Phils, remain at the top. NFL preseason week 1 recap next.